Okay, the stage is clear. Welcome to the 5th edition of A Taste of Tai Chi for this session. This is session number 5, as I said, out of 6. We have gone through all of the postures and made the form. So now we're just going to double down on all of the postures and the details. And as you've understood by now, and as all the veterans know, this is ad infinitum. It just goes on forever. You don't learn and ignore a Tai Chi form. As if you don't use it, you lose it. And it's difficult enough to get it down the first time. And if you decide you have to quit doing it for a while, relearning it is hard. But it is a little like riding a bicycle. Once you figure it out, it isn't all that bad to do it some more. Meanwhile, at the ranch, first thing we're going to do is to put ourselves in the Wooji position. That means that your head is upright, your chin is tucked toward your body, shoulders are relaxed and rounded forward, tailbone is tucked, knees are bent, feet are together with all your toes pointed in the same direction, which is forward. Your left hand becomes a willow palm, your right hand becomes a fist. Wrap your left hand around the right fist. Put your left foot forward in a point step. Keep your eyes up as you bow. That's our bowing in. We'll do that again at the end of the class as we bow out. It's an old tradition. I'm an old traditionalist, so we're going to do it. Okay. Let me remind you again, if you have not quieted your device, please mute it. I don't want to get distracted and have to distract the class by calling you out. All right, from the Wooji position, we're going to do a few exercises. Let me remind you that these exercises are just to loosen up your connective tissue. Things like ligaments, whatever holds your bones together, tendons, things like that. And keep in mind that how enthusiastically you do these exercises is completely up to you. Okay, the first one, excuse me, we're going to do swinging arms. Going to put all your weight on the right side and step out left, just barely touch the toes. Lower the heel and push the heel out to straighten your feet. We want them parallel. Then center your weight and sink. Especially remember to sink your shoulders. Okay, so now turn your body using your hips to the right, to the left, and repeat. Just let your arms flap around. Don't try to control them at all. If you take a look over your shoulder in the direction that you're turning, you're going to turn a little bit further. And remember, you start with your hips, everything else follows along. Okay, back to the Wooji position for some double knee circles. Keep your body nice and upright as you lower it to find your knees. Then we'll do 15 rotations in each direction. Keep your feet flat on the floor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. If your knees are tired after you did that, you need to do it some more. The quadricep muscle group gets a little fatigued and you just need a little more conditioning. Okay, next up, my favorite stretch. Your feet go out about shoulder width apart. This has 6 steps. Number 1, bend your knees a little extra and lightly interlock your fingers. Number 2, keep your knees bent, turn the palms up and push enthusiastically toward the ceiling. 3, keep your knees bent, go up on the top front part of your feet and stay there. 4, top hand comes down, push in both directions. 5, top hand down, point your fingers forward, lift the fingertips and push back with your wrists. 6, relax. 1, 2, 3, and hold it. Number 4, the other hand pushes down this time. 5, top hand down, point your fingers forward, push back with your wrists. And 6, relax. 1, 2, 3, push down, push back, relax. 1 more. 1, 2, 3. Other hand push, pushing back and down. My favorite stretch. Next up is the tiger stretch. Move your feet out a little bit further. Okay. Hands can be either in front of you, fingers not touching, or on your hip bones. Either is fine. Make sure you get a nice deep knee bend going and keep it there. All right. Okay, so shift, sink. Pick up the other toes and turn them out. Shift in that direction. Sink again. Your body should still be facing the front. Shift back, pivot the toes forward. Shift your weight and sink. Pick up the other toes and turn them out. Shift, sink again. Shift and pivot. Shift and sink. Toes up, toes out. Shift and sink. Shift and pivot. Shift and sink. Toes up, toes out. Shift and sink. Shift and pivot. Shift and sink. Toes up, toes out. Shift and sink. Shift and pivot. Stand up and stop. That's a great stretch too. For those of you who enjoy that one, what you can do to make it a little more interesting is to move your feet out a couple inches after a while and see if you can get your weight over there where it's supposed to be to do those stretches. There is a physical limit based on the length of your legs and stuff, but if you challenge yourself a little bit, it also helps you to loosen up your joints very nicely. Okay, next up is 2 minutes of standing post. So your feet are around shoulder width apart. Nice deep knee bend. Relax your shoulders. Hands out in front. Your breathing is going to be from the belly, nice and slow and deep. 2 minutes of uninterrupted relaxation. One minute. Thirty seconds. Fifteen seconds. And hands down. Okay. That's our normal pre-form warm-up. Please understand you can do these at home whenever you please, and they will be good for you. Nothing there is not going to be good for you. Okay, let's touch on a couple of things I want you to kind of keep in your mind as you do your forms today. One of them is your bubbling well. Well, two of them because you got two of them. One under each foot, about halfway between the toes and the heel, and about halfway from the side to the other side. What they represent is a place that you want to put your weight whenever you shift your weight. When you go from one side to the other side, or even when you're standing evenly spaced and you've sunken and everything, you should be thinking about those bubbling wells. You do not want your weight on your toes. You do not want your weight on your heels. Speaking of heels and toes, whenever we turn, we use either the heel or the toes as a place to pivot. So if your weight's on one side, you can pick up the toes on the other side in order to turn your body without possibly damaging an ankle, a knee, or a hip joint. Capiche? So remember that. When you do your breathing, if you think about it at all, please breathe with your belly. Your breathing like a bellows operates. Your belly opens up the lungs and it closes the lungs by the diaphragmatical pressure. So you want to breathe that way rather than with your upper chest like you usually do. Okay, a technological piece of information to remind you about, and that's my website. If you go to donmadson.blogspot.com, there's a website there with a bunch of pages full of a bunch of information more than you probably want. But the good news is there are 2 videos there of the form that we're practicing, and they can be very helpful. If you take a look at those videos and practice using them, please practice a little bit at a time. One posture, a half a posture, one movement, little bitty pieces. And then the challenge is to link them together with other postures and little bitty pieces. But that's Tai Chi, and it's only choreography. If you can do the hokey pokey, you've got the same general idea in your head about how to do Tai Chi. It's a matter of stringing movements together. So you can do this. It'll take a while, but you can do this. Okay, let's see what else. Well, yeah, this will be on local TV channel 34 tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. And, it's maybe something that can be a reinforcement for you. And I also I only found out last week that there were a few of the classes from last season put onto YouTube. So if you dig around and look for my name or maybe Tai Chi classes in Montclair or something like that, you might dig it out. I did look them up, but I don't remember what the actual titles were. Okay, so I know you're itching to go to work, so let's do it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is the entire form. Okay, so you're going to go to your Wooji position. Just as a reminder, your head is upright, your chin is tucked toward your body. That straightens out your vertebrae in the upper part of your back. Let your shoulders go all slumpy. Round them forward. Now tuck your tailbone and bend your knees. Look for your bubbling wells. That's where your weight's supposed to be. Okay, everybody there? Cool. Okay, I'm going to use the names of each of the postures. Then we're going to do the postures. Then I'll go on to the next one and so on forth. Okay. Preparation. 1, 2. Initiation. 1, 2, 3, 4. Grasping the bird's tail to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Turn your left toes. 8, 9, 10. Single whip. 1, turn the toes. 2, 3, 4, turn the toes. 5, wave hands like clouds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, turn the toes. 9, rush knee and push. 1, 2, step to the corner. 3, 4, turn the toes. 5, hamstring loop. 1, 2, 3, step back and repulse the monkey. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3. Deflect, intercept, and punch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Turn the toes. 6. Shutting the door. 1, 2, 3, 4. Crossing hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Conclusion. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. If you have any questions about that, make a mental note to yourself, and after we're done with the class officially, then we'll receive any and all questions, okay? Okay, so I'm going to say that the first half a dozen movements are probably the easiest for you because we've been practicing them longer. So what I'm going to suggest is that we work on the second half of the form, postures number 7 through 12, to get a little better handle on that. And then we're just going to drill over and over and over on some of the more difficult parts of each one. Okay, so let's go and let's do the first half a dozen first, just as a lead in for the second half. And again, I'm going to announce the name of the postures. Preparation. Initiation. Grasping the bird's tail. Single whip. Wave hands like clouds. Brush knee and push. Okay, that's the first 6. Couple of other details to keep in mind. We turn a lot after we step, which we do a lot. So the step and the turn are kind of a combination move. And to do it correctly, you have to pay a lot of attention to your feet. When we step, we start with something called the T-step. With the T-step, what happens is that your body is facing forward, pretty much. And when you take that step, you're not stepping sideways. You have to remember to step in back of yourself as you step forward toward the corner. There's always a corner, okay? And if there's not a corner, you need to imagine that there is one there, and you're always going to step toward it. Then, as you shift your weight onto that foot, not going past your bubbling well, you get there and you're solid on one side. That allows you to pick up the toes on the other foot. And when you turn with your hips. Nose, belly button, and toes all turn together. So when you've shifted your weight and sunken and picked up your other toes, by just turning toward the corner when your chest is facing the right way, the toes on the back foot are going to be pointed out at about a 45-degree angle. Your weight will be on the front foot, and you'll be sunken a little bit to get your center of gravity a little lower. And you have to do that over and over and over again, all the time. Whenever you shift your weight goes there and sinks. Then the back part of your foot relieves as much contact with the floor as possible, which allows you to turn and pivot without being a problem for your basic joints in your body. Capiche? Okay, so we're going to work on the last 6 postures. And what we did was just finish brush, knee, and push. Looks like this. Okay, next we're going to hands strum the loop. You're going to shift your weight forward. You're not going to step and get any taller. You're not going to go up. You're going to go forward, and the right palm turns face up. Your right heel is now off the floor. You're going to shift your weight back and sink. Bring your left palm up where the right one was and bring the right palm closer to your body. Both hands still palm up. 3, you're going to pick up your left toes, turn the point of the toes and fingers pointed up, then lower yourself to bring your left heel back to the floor. Let me show you from the other side what that looks like. You're just going forward, shifting back and sinking, picking up your left heel in the process. Pick up everything, put down everything. The last part of that is a pretty circular kind of a movement. Watch it at standard speed. 1, 2, 3. So what your hands and arms are doing is making a circular movement, ending up facing not exactly upright, but a little forward of upright. Okay? Let's do that again. 1, 2, 3. Next up is a confusing step back and repulse the monkey. Okay, we started here. Your weight is back on your right leg and you're sunken. You bent your knees, tucked your tailbone, and all that other stuff. Without changing how tall you are, first thing you do is to put down your left foot so the whole foot is in contact with the floor. Push forward with your left palm. Bring your right hand to the right hip. Now turn your body to the right. Bend your knees a little more. Bring the right hand up by your right shoulder. Turn a little more and thrust behind yourself with your right fingers. That's about shoulder high. 3, turn your left palm up. Bring your right hand close to your right eyebrow. Bring your left foot back close to the right one. Step back weightlessly with your left foot. Shift your weight back onto the left side and sink. Pick up your right heel. Push forward with your right palm. Left hand goes to your left hip. Turn your body to the left. sink a little bit extra. Bring your left hand up by your left shoulder, turn a little extra. Thrust behind yourself with your left fingertips. Turn the right palm up, bring your left hand close to your left eyebrow. Step back weightlessly with your right foot. Shift your weight to the right side and sink. Pick up your left heel. Push forward left. Right hand goes to the right hip bone. Wasn't that fun? Let's do it again. Okay, we look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, a couple of interesting things about how you move when you're stepping back. First thing you have to think about is what? You're bubbling well. Yeah, big reason for that. If you step back and put your weight on the bubbling well and sink properly, you're going to be pretty solid. You know, you're not going to be wobbling all over the place. Then what you have to do is to make sure of your balance by checking along the way. The way that you do it is just to bring the front foot in close to the other foot, the standing foot, the one where all your weight's at, okay? And take a nanosecond to check your balance. What we're not doing is just stepping back, okay? We're coming in, then stepping back. Because the other thing that has to happen when you step back is you have to step toward the corner. Okay, you don't want your feet to be lined up. No, your heels should not be lined up because you've got no lateral stability when you do that. So you're already sunken. Just bring the foot back, then you step out. That way, when you shift your weight and sink, your feet are a little ways apart, and you've got enough stability to be comfortable. Let's do it again. This time, please remember you're bubbling well and the direction that you have to step, okay? The footwork is way more important than the stuff you're doing with your upper body, okay? Because if you don't get the footwork right, can't possibly do the rest of it right. So, from the end of hand strum the lute. 1, make sure you sink. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How'd that feel? Okay, let's do it nice and smooth, no numbers, no nothing. I'm just going to tell you begin, okay? Go to the end of hand strum the lute. And begin. How'd that work out for you? Okay, the next thing we got to do is just as confusing, maybe even more. It's called deflect, intercept, and punch. Got 6 steps. Okay, what happens is that you're in this position. Your weight's on the right side over your bubbling well. Your left heel is off the floor. Your left hand is extended, palm up, palm forward. Your right hand is at the hip. So what you're going to do is to turn your body to the right and drop your right arm. Your left hand is still out in front. Your left heel is still off the ground. Make a fist with your right hand. Look back there and bring it high over the top. When you start getting it near the top, you need to bring the left foot back. Bring it back fully. Shift your weight and sink on that left side. Pivot on your right toes. Turn and sweep your hands down. Now sweep your hands up high over the top, picking up your right toes. Turn a little bit so your body faces the front. Turn your right fist around. Your hands are now about shoulder level. Your left hand is a palm forward. Your right hand is an inverted fist. Turn the right toes out. Shift your weight onto the right side and sink on your bubbling well. Turn your body to the right, picking up your left heel, putting you into the left high lotus. Step forward with your left foot toward the corner, of course, and prepare your fist. Your right fist and elbow should be about shoulder level. As you shift your weight forward onto the left side and sink on the bubbling well, turn your right fist high up. Pick up your right toes. Turn toward the left, bring your toes along, punch past the open left palm. Confusing, huh? Yeah, I know. Let's do it again. Okay, so we look something like this side. Okay. Turn the body, drop the hand. Reach back, make a fist. Bring it high over the top as you bring your left foot back even with the right. Step back, shift your weight and sink on the left. Pick up your right heel and pivot. Hands come down, hands come up, pick up the toes. Turn the body, put the heel down, turn the fist around, hands down about shoulder level. Turn the right toes out, sink a little more on your left side. Shift your weight forward and sink again. Turn to the right, picking up your left heel. You're now in a high lotus position. Step toward the corner with your left foot and prepare your fist. As you shift your weight left, turn the fist eye up, pick up the right toes, turn the body, punch past the open left palm. Deflect, intercept, and punch. As I'm sure you've noticed a bunch of times, there's a lot of moving parts to everything that we do, okay? If you take a look at it, most of the things that we do are a combination of a circle followed by a straight movement. Okay, so we're doing a couple of things with our arms and then we end up going straight in. Okay, so Tai Chi is kind of like that. The circular part is very often the defensive part of what's going on. After we sort of reposition incoming horsepower, then generally speaking, the response is a very straight, very powerful movement. And that brings up the necessity of coordinating all of those various parts that you're doing. I kind of like to think of it as syncopation because there are parts that lead and there are parts that follow rather than everything happening at once. So everything is coordinated and syncopated as you do it. There is a leader and a follower. Speaking of leading and following, there is an ancient saying about Tai Chi, and that is that the hands follow the eyes. So that means if you're going to do something over there, you need to be looking over there before you do it First, to identify your target. Secondly, to let your energy, your chi, understand where it's supposed to go. So everything we do is purposeful in that you have a plan, excuse me, you have a plan and you have an idea how to get it done, but you're going to watch it first. Okay. Okay. So after deflect, intercept, and punch, it's called shutting the door. There's a lot of variations on these names too, by the way. This has 4 steps. Number 1, put your left wrist under your right elbow. Relax both hands. Number 2, shift your weight onto the right bubbling well. Pick up the left heel. Make a crossed hands position in front of your body. Your palms face your body. Your left heel is now off the ground as well. Number 3, pick up the toes, put down the heel, and separate your open hands. Notice that my hands are extended a bit, not completely, but they're not back here close to my body either. That's because what you've done has already accounted for the arms being extended, because the very last instruction that you have is shift the body forward to push, not shift the body forward and push. See, that happens together because your arms have already been extended. Let's do it again. You're in a left hand bow and arrow. Your left foot is in front, pointed forward. Your back foot is about hip width apart if you measure from heel to heel, and the right toes are pointed off to about a 45-degree angle. So, number 1, put the left wrist under the right elbow, relax your hands. 2, shift your weight back onto the right, sinking your weight on the right, picking up your left heel, making a crossed hands position with your hands. 3, pick up the left toes, put down the left heel, hands point, palms point forward, and they are 95% extended. 4, shift your weight forward and push. Okay. You need to make sure that your body is sunken when you do that one. Because if you're very, very upright and try to push anything, it doesn't work at all. If you're pushing, I don't know, moving furniture in your house or whatever, you don't push with your body straight up and use your arms. You lean into it with your body. And if you get a little lower, you get a little more directly lateral push. So you're just stronger doing that. Again, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next up, crossing hands. Got 7 steps. For number 1, retreat onto the right side and sink. Your left toes are off the floor, of course. You're going to rest your right wrist on top of the left wrist and relax both hands. 2, pivoting on your left toe, turn toward the front. Make sure you bring your toes along with you. 3, shift your weight to the left and sink. Your right heel probably comes off the floor just a little bit. That's fine. 4, pick up the toes, put down the heel, separate the opened hands. You see that they're nice and spread out. Okay. 5, you're going to shift your weight onto the right side and sink. Your hands are going to come down just below your knee and make a cup, like you're going to have somebody step on your hands to reach something on the shelf. Next, 6, shift onto your left side and sink. Pick up your body, go to a crossed hands position. All your weight is now over on the left side and your right heel is off the floor. 7, center your weight, find both bubbling wells and sink. Okay, and conclusion is next, but we'll do this a couple of times. From the end of crossing hands, retreat and sink. Turn, pivot, and make sure you bring the toes along. Shift your weight and sink. Pick up the toes, put down the heel, separate the hands. Shift and sink. Bracket your knee. Shift and sink. Stand up. Make a crossing hands. When I say stand up, I don't mean go as tall as you can. You're comfortably upright. Your weight should still be sunken on your left bubbling well. Center the weight and sink a little more. Conclusion. First, turn both hands toward the floor. The right hand should be on top. 2, push down and separate your hands as you straighten your body. Again, don't try to get too straight. Next, shift your weight to the right side, pick up your left toes, correct the position of your toes as necessary. You want your toes pointing forward. And finally, shift your weight back and sink on the left side. Now would be a good time to sink your shoulders, make sure everything is nice and simple. Pick up the right foot, go to tiptoe position first, and bring it in to meet the left foot. Then stand quietly. Okay? Let's do those last few again. Let's go from the end of deflect. Okay? Take a look at your feet, make sure your bow and arrow is correct. Again, your left foot is forward with the toes pointing forward. Your right foot is behind and of course is pointed off 45-degree angle. There's a space between your heels about as wide as your hip bones. Plus or minus an inch or two isn't going to make that much of a difference, but make sure there is that gap. Your weight is 75% on the front leg. Find your bubbling well. Your left hand is out in front of you, about even with your right chest. Your right fist has punched forward, and the right elbow is about even with the left palm. Okay? Shutting the door. 1, 2, 3, 4. Crossing hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Conclusion. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I've got a hint for you that might make a lot of things a little easier. Whenever I'm going to have to move my weight and shift and sink and then move the other leg somewhere, I try very hard to go to a full, complete tiptoe movement before I move that foot. The reason why is if you do that, you very much have to be correct on the part that's sinking and where all your weight is. And then if you have as little weight as possible over here, you have less of a chance of unbalancing yourself as you move. So pretty much every time you're going to shift and sink and move a leg or something, go to that tiptoe and then pick it up and move it. It will make your life a little bit simpler. Okay, so let's take a look at the last 6 postures. Okay, so that is after we've left out. Okay, we should be brushing and push. So hand strum the lute. 1, 2, 3. Step back and repulse the monkey. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Deflect, intercept, and punch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Shutting the door. 1, 2, 3, 4. Crossing hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Conclusion. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that was a kind of an intense last half of the form lesson today. I would suggest that, yeah, go to the website and look at me doing the form. And by the way, that was done a bunch of years ago. I had more hair, didn't have the goatee, but it's me. I promise it really is. And if you have questions, you may contact me via the website. You can email me, or you can stick around after class, excuse me, and ask the questions. So again, this is number 5 of our 6-part session. So next week will be the final, and we're just going to do what we've been doing, just working on the general stuff and then doing some specifics as well. I think I'll spend more time next week answering questions, but I'll stick around as long as I got some questions anyway. So that's kind of the moot point. So time for the grand finale. Just more of the same. We're going to do the form, the whole form, and nothing but the form. You're going to remember your bubbling well. You're going to remember to breathe. You're going to remember to shift your weight and sink on your bubbling well. You're going to remember to use your heel or your toe to pivot so you don't stress any leg joints at all. And what else? Oh yeah, you're going to remember to breathe. Okay. Wooji, everybody. Head is upright, chin is tucked toward your body, shoulders nice and relaxed and rounded forward. Tailbone is tucked, knees are bent, feet are close together with all your toes pointed forward. And begin. Okay, how'd that work out? Feel like you're doing Tai Chi? I hope so. Okay, the last thing we do officially is to bow out. So you're in the Wooji position. Your left hand makes a little palm, your right hand makes a fist, your left foot is a point step. Fold the left hand over the right fist, keep your eyes up as you bow. We're done. Thanks for your time, everybody, and I will stick around for questions. So you may turn on your sound and fire away.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you.
Don, this is Barbara. I have a question.
Sure.
I'm very frustrated because I had gotten so used to the perspective that you were using before, and now that you've changed it, when I look at you, I do it wrong. In order to do it right, I have to not look at you. You know, I have to just go by, because I look at the video, your videos every day. So I know the form, but if I look at you now in this new perspective, I'm out of it. I'm confused.
Well, you just added a problem for yourself. Don't look at me. The reason it happened is because up until this season, they turned me around. And, you know, they corrected the perspective. So I was doing it mirror image.
Right.
And I found out last week that they weren't doing that. So I was confusing everybody, including myself. So next year, our next session, I think I'm just going to do it all backwards and not tell anybody.
Okay. Okay, that'll be great.
Well, the problem is my verbiage doesn't match what my body is doing, and if I try to tell you what's going on, it just confuses the issue some more. So again, this is a work in progress in every dimension. So you know the form already pretty much. So just don't look at me. You know what to do.
That's right.
I'm going to try really hard to not talk about left and right anymore. And next season or next time around, I think if I do it backwards, nobody's going to know.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
We'll see.
The perspective will be, you know, when you look at somebody doing things and you know you're supposed to follow along, left and right should not be an issue, but it is, because if you don't do it correctly, even if I'm doing it a mirror image, then you're not doing the Tai Chi form. You could look at people leading workout classes and everything else, and they're bouncing around side to side to side, and you move according to how they move. They're not telling you what to do. You're just doing it according to what they're doing. So if I could get away with not talking, then it would probably work okay, but you'd be wrong. You'd be doing it backwards. See what I'm talking about? So it's a kind of a crazy issue that just really manifested itself. So the next session, when we start, I think I'm probably just going to do everything backwards and not tell anybody which is left and right.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thanks for bringing it up. I mean, it is an issue, and I understand it certainly. But it kind of adds another dimension to an already difficult thing to learn.
Yeah. Okay.
Saying left and right helps me. Donna likes it that way. Well, I'll try to work that either bothers everybody equally or is equally helpful. Don't know if that'll ever happen, but we will work on it. It's a work in progress.
Hey, Don, this is Sharon. Good morning. I got to go to a next class, but I just want to let you know I put a YouTube link in the chat for anybody who wants it.
I saw that. I was too far away to read it, but I thought.
Okay. All right. Have a good week.
See ya.
Hey, Don, it's James.
Every strike, is it an exhale, and every thwart or ward off, is that an inhale?
No, a ward off should be an inhale. No, excuse me, should be an exhale because you're doing something that
Mhm.
extends your body.
Okay,
It's an exhale movement. Okay.
right.
Just the same as a brush knee and push, the forward stroke would be an exhale as well.
Okay,
You will have-
okay. Got
you
it
will
confused.
already gathered the energy to afford that energy to be distributed by doing the ward off.
And the other question was, that sphere that we have, that we shape in different ways, how light or heavy is that?
Depends on the thing you're dealing with.
Mm,
Okay?
okay.
When you're shifting your weight, for instance, the kind of the golden mean is 70% on the weighted side, but everything is fluid, everything is moving.
Yeah,
So you're going to that point. What it wants you to not do is to get your weight so heavy on one side that there's no substance on the other.
right. Okay.
You know what I mean? You're maximizing your weight in one direction, but that's only very temporary. You
Right.
know, you're always moving, you're always fluid, so that's an arbitrary number, you know,
Yeah.
but it kind of wants you to not overstep the boundaries that you've been talked about. So we give you that number so that you sort of automatically don't go past it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just trying to visualize a sphere as more my tethered on this. So I'm just trying to visualize it a little bit more.
Don't visualize it, feel it.
Okay. Okay.
Think about what you're trying to do and about how to do it the most functional way and the most efficient way.
Okay.
So if you break it down into that efficiency situation, then you're always going to add in comfort, you know, as long as understanding what you're trying to do, then you're going to sort of develop limitations in your own body and mind about how far you're going to do anything.
One other question is, I noticed on the video that your hands are a little bit more open. They're like, something like that, as opposed to being closed. Is that the way you want our hands to be?
Purposeful movement. What are you doing? If you're
Well,
brushing and pushing, your palm is going to be very forward because that's what's making contact. You don't make contact with the tips of your fingers, you'll get them broke.
okay, but it should be open so that you can grasp a little easier the person, or
No, it's because you're pushing and the fingers need to be out of the way.
okay.
Anytime that you're extending the palm forward, okay, that palm needs to be opened up so that the fingers are not in the way and can't be hurt. Understand? I mean, when you're doing the brush knee, you don't brush anything aside by using your fingertips. It's the whole part of your hand, fingers and palm and thumb included. The whole thing acts as once. But you know that any pressure that's there is going to be on the palms of your hands if you do it right.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, gotcha. All right, thanks. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Anybody else got a question? Okay, I'm out of here then.
Thank
Have
you.
a great week, y'all.